everybody. How are you guys tonight? Yay. Okay. Making sure some things are muted if they need to be. And that's there. Yeah. Oh, hi. It is good to be back with everyone. Oh, my glasses are not clean. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah. No makeup. Uh, no filters on the camera. Lighting terrible. And glasses are dirty. Yay, but I'm here and I'm back. Welcome to Story and Art, everybody. It's Gretchen here, and I am back with you. I had a week with grandkids, Monday through Friday. I left here early Monday morning, and I drove back on Friday. I left there mid-morning, I would say, to avoid the commute traffic through Corvallis and Salem, and avoid holiday traffic through Portland. And I did, and I made it home fine. Everybody was going southbound on the freeway, and I was heading north. And so I was glad I made it home easily, but I'm glad to be back. And there is Caroline. Oh my gosh, Linda is here. And Tamara is here. Tamara, how is the weather? I know, first off, Linda, I am so sorry for all the weather. You're in Kentucky, right? All that. You're experiencing those tornadoes and all kinds of craziness down there that you've had. I mean, just insane weather. Tamara, you're heading into fall into winter in Australia, and Caroline is in Boston on my crafty adventures, and she was this morning complaining about how cold it was. So Caroline, you know who has been in Boston or in Amesbury this whole week is Doc. And Doc has been he was there for all the leap into video. I didn't see any of it because I was all wrapped up with grandkids in Eugene. But poor guy, he has not had it easy coming from Hawaii. One of his last trips that he was in Florida with Liz when it snowed for the first time in where she lives in like 7 years. And then he's been in Amherst, or not in Amherst, but in Amesbury, and he's been freezing his tail off. So funny. Oh, and there is Carlos. Hi, Carlos. I got around to subscribing to your newsletter today. Although I think it has your name on my newsletter for some reason as who I think, but that's cool. Anyway, I did not see any art come in from Tamara or anybody. I'm going to check one more time. I didn't see any emails of that. If it's been a week for everybody else like it's been for me, I will show you my art that I did, but you could laugh your head off because it was art done with a 4-year-old. Yay. Hey. And thanks whoever's given me the thumbs up already. That's fun. And we had such a good class on Saturday with a class that Carlos and I are in with Doc. And we got into some interesting discussions. And I told Doc, he posted, I told him we need a t-shirt that said "Be a Nurse Log." I'll tell you about that at some point or another. But it was a needed week to be with my grandkids and with my daughter and son. It was just son-in-law. It was important to be there. And I just got a message from Bryn. They're at the beach now, and my oldest grandson had found a beautiful stone for me because he and I have a kind of a rock collection together. I have a rock that my grandfather gave me when I was very young, and then I also have a rock that I collected when I was in first grade. And so McLean has kind of picked up on that, and he is He is 9. He's just finished 4th grade. He's finishing up 4th grade. And so just one of these. We had a great time one afternoon. I picked them up after school, and we went to Tsunami Books in Eugene, and it's a used bookstore, used and discount bookstore. It's so much fun. And yeah, had all 3 of them came home with 4 new books, and that was so much fun. McLean got his Diary of a Wimpy Kid that he loves, and some other thing, and then a couple other things. And Rook, who is in 1st grade, got some books, and then Rory, I picked out some for Rory. She's the one that's the 4-year-old. So it was a good time. Anyway, it was a very important, special time to be with them, and I enjoyed every moment of it. So today for show and tell, it's going to be just me to show you something because I didn't see anything. So I'm going to tell you how it kind of went because it's show and tell sort of. So this was kind of a piece that I kind of drew and doodled on and got, and then Rory decided we should add some color to it. So we kind of painted along, and then she wanted to know how I was doing owls. So we tried to do owls, and then she added some things to the owls. I don't think there's anything. Oh, we were doing these. She was wanted me to teach her how to make the heart flowers. So I was making some, and she was making some, and then they became birds. And she was trying to make them too. Not bad for a 4-year-old. She's doing okay. So that was the kind of fun. But okay. So here was one day we started I was painting on this page, and she's painting on the other side, and I started to do some kind of things. We had watercolor, and then she was helping me to add things, and she was going to try to make them like it, but then she was making them different, of course. And then this was our rainbow. We were working on rainbows. And yeah, so this was what my week was like. This is the kind of, I literally sat every night and every morning, sometimes before breakfast, with Rory painting, and we would paint well into the evening. So that's the whole art that I have. Anyway, kind of fun to do on all of that. So yay! I like the bird page. I tell you, it's one of those things that you just keep drawing. And she wanted me to teach her how to draw an owl, and then when she would look at mine, and then she would look at hers, and she'd go, "But mine's going to be different." She was so funny. It was like, Grandma Goo, I like that, but mine's different. Mine's just different, and that was always so much fun to do. Why is that thing keep coming up? So tonight I have 2 stories for you, and I titled this "Flames and Flyers" because the books are very different. They don't kind of go along with the same type of topic really at all together, but they have they still have that rich illustration, and they have that rich theme of what happens, how do you overcome things. And this first one is called The Littlest Drop, and it's by Sacha Alper, and the illustrations are by the great Jerry Pinkney and Brian Pinkney. And Sacha Alper is a literary agent and author who lives in Brooklyn, New York with her family. And The Littlest Drop is her first book. And in 2021, when he passed away in 2021, Jerry Pinkney had not yet completed the art for The Littlest Drop for this book. Using his father's detailed black and white sketches, Brian Pinckney added color and his own unique touch, making the final art a true collaboration between father and son. One of America's most beloved and acclaimed illustrators, Jerry Pinckney was the recipient of the Caldecott Medal and 5 Caldecott honors. And we've read so many things. What is that? What was that? What is that? What just popped up on there? Why did that pop up? And if you've seen any of his work, and I've read lots of his books, he's had, like I said, 5 Caldecott honors, 1 Caldecott Medal, 5 Coretta Scott King Awards, the Coretta Scott King Virginia Hamilton Award for Lifetime Achievement, and many other prizes and honors. His long list of celebrated books includes Mirandy and Brother Wind, The All I Ever Want Christmas Doll, and The Little Mermaid, and Lion and the Mouse. And Brian has done The Dark 30, Hip Hop Lollipop, Let's Clap, Jump, Sing and Shout, Dance, Spin, and Turn It Out. Just amazing. So, artists, I think you're going to like this book, The Littlest Drop, because the artwork is amazing. And Sacha Alper put together a story that is so beautiful. And as Jerry Pinckney started it and his son finished the artwork, I think you'll enjoy this, The Littlest Drop, and the story and the lesson that it tells. The Littlest Drop. Now, just to start there, take a look at the hummingbird and the elephant. Look at that elephant. Now, having been up close and personal with wild elephants myself, that is such a good representation of how they are. They have so much variation in their skin color and their wrinkles and their tone. They're just amazing. The Littlest Drop. Once there was a vast, beautiful land with a home to all the animals. From the largest elephant to the smallest ant, there was room for everyone. Birds sang in the trees as monkeys swung through their branches. Snakes slithered around their trunks, and giant cats crept silently below. On one small branch of one tall tree, a tiny hummingbird built her nest. She wove bits of plants and flowers together with the silk of a spider's web and lined it with downy moss. Soon her eggs would come, and she needed a home that was both soft and strong. But just as the hummingbird finished her nest, a small spark flew on the breeze and landed on a leaf. The spark started a fire, which grew and grew and grew. The animals fled to the river and stood by the safety of its bank, too scared to move, all except the hummingbird. She thought of her home in the tall tree, of the soft, strong nest beneath her, and of her eggs that soon would be coming. And she knew she had to do something. And so the hummingbird flew to the river and filled her tiny beak with just the littlest drop of water, for that was all she could hold. Then she flew to the fire and let the drop fall. She flew straight back to the river and again took just one drop, and back and forth she flew, letting fall drop after drop after drop. All the animals watched in bewilderment. Some laughed, others shook their head. Finally, the great wise elephant stepped forward and asked in her great wise voice, "Hummingbird, what are you doing? You cannot put out that terrible fire. You are just a small bird." And the tiny hummingbird fluttered her wings and answered in her tiny voice, "I am doing what I can." When the great wise elephant heard this, she looked down at her grandchildren, and she thought of what the fire would take from them. The elephant lowered her head to the hummingbird. "Then I will do what I can." And she reached her trunk deep into the river and filled it. With the hummingbird flying above her, the elephant thundered toward the fire and sprayed it with great jets of water. When the other animals saw the tiny hummingbird and the giant elephant working together, each doing what she could, they stopped laughing. They stopped shaking their heads. Even though they were scared, they thought of their own homes, and they said to each other, "We will do what we can." The small ants did what they could. The chimpanzees and gorillas did what they could. The leopards and lions and warthogs and aardvarks and giraffes and hippos did what they could. And soon every animal was working together to put out that fire. Still the fire raged and it roared. Back and forth the hummingbird flew. Her wings grew very tired. Back and forth the elephant lumbered, and her legs grew very tired. Back and forth all day and all night. The other animals flew, ran, marched, swung, slithered, and crawled, and they grew very tired. Then, as the sun rose above the treetops, and the exhausted hummingbird thought she could fly no further, she last drop fall, and the fire was gone. The hummingbird finally came to rest on the elephant's broad back and looked out at the land that was the animal's home. And there, where on one small branch of one tall tree, her little nest was waiting for her. The Littlest Drop by Sacha Alper, illustrated by the great Jerry Pinkney and his son Brian Pinkney. Oh my goodness. Oh, yes, all things possible when we work together. You bet. Let me see. Where am I there? It is a beautiful story. Absolutely gorgeous story. And the other story that I have to go with it, I mean, it was just one of those things that hit me about working together and the things. And it's those kind of stories that not only do, I mean, if you think about all of it, not only the story about how they worked together, but even in the basics of the fact that Jerry didn't get to finish the illustrations, but his son stepped in and took over and worked for him. And it's just the whole thing. The whole book is wonderful. And the illustrations are just inspiring. So inspiring. Yeah, you guys. Oh, Cordelia is here. Hi, Cordelia. Is this your first time? I believe this is Cordelia Alderman's first time, and we need to say welcome. We do a bring. Welcome to the Story in Art. I hope this evening with what I do, my whole goal in this is to fill your bucket a bit, and because having you here and being able to read these stories and share them fills my bucket and helps me get through part of the week. But if some of this story fills your bucket in some way, I think that I'm very pleased to have you. Well, think maybe this is your second time. Well, it's still deserving of a glockenspiel sound. And probably Helen is lurking. She oftentimes, and so does Lupe. If you're here, Lupe is oftentimes lurking, and so is Gail Duke. Caroline told you about my channel. Thank you, Caroline. That was nice. Caroline has been doing a live chat on Sundays at noon, and today was her last one that she did. She's a crafter, and I know her through eCam, and we met at Creator Camp last summer. I don't think, were you at Creator Camp 1? I don't think so. I don't remember, but I didn't meet you at that camp. So anyway, I'm excited for camp this year. Anyway, back on to it, to the next story. Now, the next story is called Piper Chen Sings, and this has a fascinating background to it. So it is by Phillipa Soo. You might know that name if you are at all interested in musicals or Broadway musicals or things like that, or a fan of the musical Hamilton. Phillipa Soo is a Grammy winner and Tony-nominated actress from Hamilton. And she co-wrote that with Maris Pascal Doran, and it's illustrated by Quinn Leng. And Phillipa Soo is an actor and singer, best known for originating the role of Eliza in Broadway's critically acclaimed Hamilton, which earned her a Grammy win and Tony and Emmy nominations. She also starred as Cinderella in Into the Woods, for which she won another Grammy. As Guinevere in Aaron Susskind's Broadway revival of Camelot, one of my all-time favorite musicals. And Aaron Sorkin, and in many other plays, musicals, television shows, and films. When Phillipa was younger, she was just like Piper. She sang everywhere to everything. This story is inspired by her own journey dealing with her stage fright as a young child. She resides in Brooklyn with her husband and fellow actor, Stephen Pascal. And then Maris Pascal Doran is a licensed clinical social worker. She continues to work as a private psychotherapist and as an adjunct lecturer at Columbia University School of Social Work. She lives in Maplewood, New Jersey with her husband and 2 children, and reading to them is always her favorite part of the day. And Quinn Leng is a visual development artist, as well as an illustrator and author of children's books. Her recent titles include A Day for Sandcastles and Over the Shop by John Arno Larson, and A Year of Everyday Wonders by Cheryl B. Klein, and Away by Emile Scher. She has received multiple starred awards, and she lives in Toronto. So this is where the part where I had flames and flyers. This is at the beginning where I chose the word flyers as in butterflies. So this book, there I am. It's raining again, Linda. Oh no. And, oh, good. good. Linda is always so good about putting in people's links. It's just the best and the best of the best. We love lurkers as well. Um, yeah. Anyway, I didn't, it's been nice weather up here in the Pacific North. We had sun today, which is kind of thing. But this is a completely different kind of art that you're going to see. I think the artwork and this one was done. Let me check and see. The artist used ink, watercolor, and oil pastel to create the illustrations for this book. Both books are done, I think. This just goes to show how different it can be. The illustrations were rendered in acrylic and India ink on Fabriano watercolor paper. So they used watercolor paper for the Littlest Drop, but they used acrylic and ink there. And this is ink, watercolor, and oil pastel to create the illustrations for this book. Piper Chen Sings. Oh, let's see. Ooh, it did have a pronunciation. Got it. Hude. She's Zhaoza. I know, got that. Ni hao. I know that. Yeah. Okay, got that. I did the pronunciation guide earlier. It's one of those things. This is Piper Chen. Piper loves to sing. She twirls through rooms. She sings good morning to the peeking sun, bounces up the stairs and hops foot to foot, always singing out of tune, and good night to the cresting moon. She sings to the orange-crested robins whistling outside her window and to the chanting frogs in the faraway pond, and they sing back to her. I love this picture right here. Piper performs for her closest friends, with Spotty on backup always. She listens to Nai-Nai's homemade joust pop as they cook and hums with pleasure as she eats them. She hears the world's rich sounds and beats and rhythms and adds her voice to its orchestra. On a bright spring morning, Piper scoots to school, slapping her foot against the pavement and hopping her head to the beat, bopping her head to the beat. Bop, bop. When Mrs. Lopez takes attendance, Piper belts out, "Here!" She practices her whistle when she colors and cuts, and she hums quietly while looking for the perfect book. In her favorite class, Piper stands tall and is focused. She feels the chorus of voices vibrating through her. When the class takes a break, Mr. Harris asks Piper if she wants to sing one of the solos in the Spring Sing. Piper lets her excitement answer, "Yes!" Yet when they start practicing again, something doesn't feel right. Piper is suddenly frozen, and she can only sing in a worried whisper. "If you feel nervous, Piper, that is normal," Mr. Harris assures her. "You have the choice to sing a solo or sing with the class. Just tell me what you decide next time we meet." Oh, look at her little fists. She looks so much like Rook when she does that, her granddaughter. When Piper returns home from school that day, she does not twirl through the room, bounce up the stairs, or hop foot to foot. Piper is not singing. Listening to the tune from Nene's piano, Piper does not hum along. She does not sing one note. Nene is sitting upright at the piano bench, as she often does, her foot resting on the pedal, never wiggling or even rattling her teacup. She starts playing their favorite song. "Piper, I know you are there, but you aren't singing." Piper climbs next to Nene and tells her about the solo. What if I forget the words? What if I sound like a frog? She says. When we practiced, I felt like butterflies were having a dance party in my belly. What if they come back? Nene pauses her playing and smiles. Oh, Uday, she says to Piper. What is Uday? Asks Piper. It is the Chinese word for butterfly, answers Nene. I remember being your age, the very first time I touched piano keys, playing along to the rain's beat against the window. Nene plays the keys to sound like raindrops and Piper giggles. Before my first piano recital, the butterflies danced in me too. Go away, Uday, I begged, but they just flew faster. They would only settle once I began to play. Eventually, I realized the butterflies visited to tell me when something exciting was ahead, Nene explained. They flapped fast when I left China and traveled to America. And I felt them fluttering the day I graduated from music school. They flew through me when I married your yeye. They hovered over us when we brought your father home for the first time. And they twirled unstoppably on the day I became a U.S. citizen, she says. Now, when they greet me, I greet them back. Hello, Uday. Ni hao. Piper, do you want to sing the solo? Piper blinks and thinks and nods. Nene resumes playing their favorite song, and Piper finally sings along. Weeks later, on the night of the show, Piper feels the butterflies flapping their wings and flying side to side. When it is her class's turn to sing, they walk out slowly. Piper sees the spotlight shining like the bright, welcoming sun, and its reflection on stage like the inviting moon. She hums to herself, Hello, Uday. And Piper steps into the glow. The butterflies rests, and she sings. She sings like she sings to her stuffed animals and Spotty the dog, the sun and moon and stars, the trees and birds and frogs. She sings because she loves to sing, and her love is alive in that moment, fluttering through her family and friends, and her loving Nene, fluttering up and out into her world. And that's the story of Piper Chen Sings. Helen is here. Oh my goodness. Yay, Helen, how are you? How was the weather on the island today, girl? Oh my goodness. There we go. Flipping back. Helen lives here in Washington State. Our friend Hanakulani Creations, that's our friend Helen. She's been part of the bucket filling brigade probably since day one when I started this back in 2021, was it? For that November time? Helen, I think you were here? Yeah. Anyway, she lives in Washington State. She lives probably about 50 miles due north of me, across Puget Sound. I mean, I live at the end of the Key Peninsula. She lives up across. Yeah, you could get there. You'd have to take. If I went straight up, I could take to Port Townsend. I could take a little ferry if the tide's not too low, and go across and to be on the island. She lives not too far from my best friend. Yeah. So it's good to have her here. Nice. Um, thanks. Yes, Whidbey. Yeah. Life happens, and here I am. Yep, she's on Whidbey Island, and it's good to have you here. It's always nice when I hear from you. So I have one more I'm going to pull out, and this, Carlos, is I just decided to pull this out for you because we talked about nurse logs the other day, and I couldn't find the one book that I had by the person, but this is very similar. This is by Carol Reed Jones, and the illustrations are by Christopher Canyon. It's called The Tree in the Ancient Forest. And we were talking about in our class, and in Doc had in his, about things that that we grow from us, or what we think we can't do or won't be able to do. But when we set that aside, or when we let that go, we let that phobia or whatever it is go away. Something else can grow from it. And I was telling them about here in the Pacific Northwest, in our rainforests, and in all the forests up here, we have something called a nurse log, and it's what they call them, nurse logs, and they're giant trees, or it can be any tree. It can be a small tree, but a lot of them in the rainforest are huge, old growth forests that when the tree has gone down, root and all, and lays down, it's not, if it's in the national forest or in the forest in a place, it doesn't just go to waste. It becomes the home for so many other life. And there are pictures out there that you can find of nurse logs where the root ball is 2 or 3 stories high, and growing out of that tree are 50, 60, 70, 100-foot trees growing out of the nurse log that has fallen down. So I have one more book that I think that I might have read to you, some of you before, but I want to share it again. This is called The Tree in the Ancient Forest, and it's just, it fits. It's such a beautiful book. It's written in the, well, it's in a kind of it's a build-on story. Gosh, Carol wrote this. I've had this since 1995. This is not a new book. But in all of nature, there is something of the wonderful. Yeah. It's called, she says, truly there is something wonderful in every bit of nature. Every animal and plant, no matter how small, even if it is microscopic, is important in nature. The plants and animals in this story depend upon one another for survival. This kind of mutual need is called interdependence. She goes on. And here is The Tree in the Ancient Forest. This is the ancient forest. This is the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. These are the roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. These are the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. These are the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on the roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. These are the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on the roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the woodpecker searching for ants that started the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the saucy, chattering squirrel that scolds the woodpecker searching for ants that started the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the hungry, stealthy martin that stalks the saucy, chattering squirrel, that scolds the woodpecker searching for ants, that started the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots that draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. These are the fir cones that fall from a branch and startle the hungry, stealthy martin that stalks the saucy, chattering squirrel, that scolds the woodpecker searching for ants, that started the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eats the tiny underground truffles that grow on the roots and draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. This is the 300-year-old tree that grows the fir cones that fall from the branch and startle the hungry, stealthy martin that stalks the saucy, chattering squirrel, that scolds the woodpecker searching for ants, that started the hollow in the tree, home of the sleepy owlets that are fed by the owl that flies at night, that hunts the voles and mice that tunnel and eat the tiny underground truffles that grow on roots and draw food from the soil to nourish the 300-year-old tree that grows in the ancient forest. Yeah. Has all these different kind of things. And it's a great book because it has all the details and stuff. But this is my backyard area. This is what I see when I go out. Well, not only if I look out my door, I don't have any 300-year-olds because this is a kind of a young forest, but it only takes me to drive a couple hours, and I can get yes. And Nurse Log is teaching us interdependence, not to be confused with codependence. She goes on to say, somewhere near your home is a wild natural area where the plants and animals all rely upon one another. It may be a woodland or a wetland, a prairie, desert, jungle, or tundra. Even if the plants and animals living near you are different from those in the story, they are all interdependent in the same kind of ways that the plants and animals in this story are. Walk softly when you go to a wild place. If you must speak, whisper. Look for the birds, insects, and other animals that are there. Sit in one place for a few minutes without speaking or moving, listening to the many different sounds. Which sounds are made by birds? How many of them are made by insects or larger animals? Can you smell flowers, other plants, even the soil? Is there a breeze that makes grasses, leaves, and branches rustle? Do you hear water from a stream? Looking closely at the ground, what tiny insects and plants can you find? You will probably find many more living things than you imagined. Just as all these plants and animals depend on one another, we also depend on all of nature. It is important that we learn to preserve and respect these living things, not only for ourselves, but for our children and grandchildren and all the wonderful creatures who share this planet with us. Yay. Yes. And there. I wanted to see if I could, I showed this to some people the other day, but I'm going to see if I can find this one thing to show you guys real quick. I pulled one out. Here. See if I can pull this here. And see if you guys can see this. No. Let's see. I know what I'll do. There we go. Here, I'm going to do something real quick, like here, and go to my screen share. There it is. So this is a picture I found. It's not the one I had the other day, but this is a picture from in Olympic National Park up by the Hoh River, which is about 2.5 hours from me. I go there 3 or 4 times a year. What you see on the bottom that those roots are hanging onto is a nurse log. Most likely, if I stood next to that, I would not even come up to the first knuckle of that one root that's coming down there. It's probably a good 20 feet tall, the actual log that's laying on the ground. And they can be absolutely huge. I have seen so many of them. Go here. So if you ever want to look at pictures of nurse logs, like here's another one. They're pretty amazing things. And they'll go all over the place. And yeah, it's just part of our ecosystem up here. There's logs, healers of the forest. And you can see that there is a log underneath here, and then this tree is growing out of it. And you see all of those branches across it. And then the ferns are coming up. There's a boardwalk. This is also in the Hoh. And that's next to one of the, if you can actually walk by that one. It shows how they grow things on them. They're just cool. They're just absolutely crazy cool. Anyway, they've always been, I've always found them super fascinating. And there we go. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad you like listening to me. Thanks. Oh, perfect prelude to your bedtime. Good night, everyone. Carolyn had to go. Yes. Anyway, you guys, those were the 3 stories I had for tonight and my crazy art with my granddaughter. You got to see it. I will be back on Thursday for Story and Art, back next Sunday for Story and Art 2. Sundays are when I show your art. So if you have been working on anything, you have anything creative that you've been doing that you want to share, you send it into my email, imagesbygretchen@icloud.com. And if you can send it to me by 5 o'clock Pacific on Sunday, then I can get it into the show pretty easily. And it's a fun time to share all the different kind of creative things that we've been doing. And it does not need to be polished or perfect. Yeah, perfect is overrated, in my opinion. And that's what this is all about. You see, I don't read the stories perfectly. I miss words sometimes. All kinds. I might wander off a meander, but that's not what this is about. This is about sharing books that I think are wonderful and sharing our own creativity with each other and just being bucket fillers for each other. And I appreciate you guys all so much for being here and for letting me share my passion for these wonderful children's books and all the lessons that they have for not just children, but for so many of us too. And they sometimes these days are a lot what we need to hear. So everybody, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It's all around you, but the first place you'll find it is when you go look in your mirror. And I'll see you next time.
In the heat of the night, we could get lost in all the lights and sound.
Hey, Kathy! Well, comedy, my friend Kathy.
We won't go home, we would just stay here downtown. There's not just stars on the boulevard. They're in the light in your eyes.
Oh, I have to get that book, fortunately.
Need no black cards. I just need you by my side. We could be shameless, famous, running cool, with a love that leaves us weightless. Ooh, drop dead gorgeous, wow. Ooh, you got me feeling starstruck too. We could be famous. We could be famous. You blow my mind, looking like a model, better than the usual.
Mahalo, Helen.
Don't even try.
Oh, good. Linda, thank you for putting in Kathy's channel.
There's not just stars on the boulevard. They're in the light in your eyes. Oh, we don't need no black cards. I just need you by my side. We could be shameless, famous, running cool, with a love that leaves us weightless. Ooh, drop dead gorgeous, wow. Ooh, you got me feeling starstruck too. We could be famous. We could be